Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel Trading Secrets. This channel is for entertainment purposes only. For those who do not know, my name is Ali. I have over 20 years experience teaching accounting, economics, business and law. Through this channel I'll be providing some stock analysis and a quick update on the $1 Million Challenge. So if anybody's not aware of this is a journey of investment of $1,000 to a return of $1 million over a period of 3 years using a strategic or compound return investing. So the objective is try to get 201 trades, each with an average return of 3.5%. It's not 201 consecutive trades, we do take into account losses. So for further details about how to join us for less than $9 a month, information is available in the description below. In the previous video we looked at MMTLP, GNS and also MULN, and there was some news with regard to developments regarding FINRA, so please refer back to the previous video for those updates. In today's video we're going to be following on and also looking at some additional details with regard to MMTLP and also focusing on FINRA and more updates also with regard to what's happening with regard to the SEC. We're also going to be reviewing the Wall Street conspiracy and also looking at MULN again and GNS. So before we make a start, let's have a look at what's happening in the market. So good news here. Close of play on the Friday, we know that the Dow Jones closed up in excess of 300 points. Tech firms were leading the way. The Nasdaq was up 2.86%. Dow Jones was up in excess of 1%. But the other thing here we can see that is interesting, I think hopefully this will have a positive impact on the market, and that is crypto. So Bitcoin is up significantly. I think right now it's up in excess of $23,000. Ethereum is also doing well, and we can see there that oil prices are now climbing 1% up in expectation of higher demand. So I'm going to start by having a quick review of a documentary that was initially recommended by John Berda, and also been in touch with the producer and director of this by the name of Christina Copeland. So the documentary is called Wall Street Conspiracy, so I do recommend you have a look at this. I think there is an update planned for 2023, so looking forward to that. But one thing I'd like to share with you is with regards to one of the things featured in the documentary, and that was a company called Eagle Tech. So before we look at Eagle Tech on the screen here, there was another company by the name Virogen, and this is a company that was treating or shall we say investigating cures for cancer, but this was also a company that was shorted to death, no longer exists and is now bankrupt, shall we say, and unable to provide this treatment for cancers. But the company I'm now going to focus on is by the name of Eagle Tech. So this was also featured in the company. So if we have a look at what the brief story is with regard to this, Eagle Tech was a United States small cap company. It was trading on the public exchange, and it had a new invention which at the time was used to push phone calls to other devices, but what happened then, it became a target of death spiraling, financing criminals working together with a group called Salomon Smith Barney in New York. So this we can see around about 2005 the story begins. So this group, or should we say call them a group of criminals, they did a pump up and then naked shorted the company. At that time the company was trading around about $14, so they shorted it down to 75 cents, reducing the market cap by $113 million. Then the stock went to 2 cents. FBI was called in, so we know that this is something that happens, especially, or what should happen in terms of criminal matters. The FBI did investigate because obviously this was an allegation of organized criminal stock market fraud. So they busted 17 members of this mob, including the people who ran the scheme against Eagle Tech. So what happened then is the SEC also filed against the mob, obviously, but we can see members of the Salomon Barney finance team had the option, and market makers in Chicago were selling shares and then failing to deliver. But what we can also see from the SEC point of view, no penalties against the Salomon Smith Barney team on the options market maker collaborators. So the SEC did take some action, but not action against the Salomon Smith Barney team. But what the SEC also did, which I think is ironic, they also filed a suit against the victim, Eagle Tech, which was the victim. So it's a bit like somebody accused of theft and then locking them up for wasting police time. So what the SEC did is they filed a legal case against Eagle Tech to deregister their shares because Eagle Tech were obviously shorted to death. They could not afford even money for accountants to submit their audited financial reports. So if you cannot submit audited financial reports, the SEC don't want you on their systems. So the SEC said, look, you need to be delisted. You need to get out of our system. So Eagle Tech no longer exists. The investors are all wiped out. Everybody lost every single penny, more or less, that they had in this company. The naked shorters never had to cover. So this is the interesting thing at the bottom. So what we are basically saying, that the short sellers who short a company to death, the company becomes bankrupt, the company no longer exists. So the loophole for the shorts is they don't need to close their positions, so they are in profit. So this is something that they see as a bonus, and the SEC do nothing about it. The next shout out I'd like to give is to Ham the Short Killer. So the tweet we're focusing on here, first of all, is at the top where he states, with regard to MMTLP, I hope we have feedback soon from FINRA being served. So that's a cryptic tweet. It's also a positive tweet. It's also implying something is happening behind the scenes, very important. And then at the bottom he says they were served, F them, they have to answer. So the next shout out here is to Richard Hoffman, who's tried to get some clues with regard to what Ham is saying, and he's saying this is definitely in my thoughts. Also, I also think unlike in Congress, in a federal grand jury, which is not a criminal attorney, they would be able to force testimony with an immunity grant. So if we look at a congressional subpoena, what would happen there is obviously they would be invited to produce documents and produce evidence, but they could also basically plead the Fifth Amendment and say no comment, no comment, no comment. However, what Richard is saying is that if that doesn't happen, then obviously if there is ideally a federal grand jury, then they would be obliged and required to answer and provide evidence. So something may be happening behind the scenes. However, in my opinion, I think if there is a congressional subpoena and FINRA come out and say no comment, then that is basically the whole world is going to see them do that. The United States, population, public, taxpayers, government, media, everybody is going to see them say that. And that, as far as I'm concerned, would be FINRA saying we are guilty. So the other shout out here I'd like to give is to a Republican, Bill Huizenga, and what he stated here is with regard to the financial CMT no oversight chair, and he's also tagged in the SEC. Oversight will be central to my agenda. No longer can Gary Gensler hide behind his Democratic allies. Republicans will hold him accountable for his expansive regulatory overreach. So it looks like Bill is onto something here, and hopefully Bill gets answers from the SEC, not only for MMTLP, but for a number of issues that we have concerns about. The next thing I'd like to remind everybody is with regards to some key dates, and these are 27th and 28th of January 2023. If you are able to make this, this is obviously a peaceful demonstration in the headquarters of the SEC Washington, 11 a.m. On Friday and also on Saturday. So if you are able to make it, and this hopefully is going to cover a number of stocks, but from our point of view, we want to bring attention to MMTLP. And I think one of the things I think may be positive here is if people can, first of all, get their message across peacefully, but also I think get their message across professionally as well. So look forward to developments with regard to that. Let's move on now to look at news with regard to MULN and GNS. And the headline here is Mullen stock new petition calls for Mullen Group to fight short sellers like the Genius Group. So we know obviously this is happening with GNS. So now there are moves for Mullen to do the same. There is a petition. This was covered in the previous video, and we know that Mullen is currently down 15% year to date. And if we have a look at continuing that, the key problem we know that are happening in the market in terms of the fail to delivers, This is a highly controversial topic in the financial industry. It's for example, in the example of shorting a stock, it can occur when the short seller does not own any of the shares at the time of settlement, therefore defaulting on this obligation. So this is something that is driving the price of especially small caps down. We know that GNS announced that it has formed an illegal trading task force. We now also know that HLBZ is looking at announcing a similar measure. As well as that, there is movement now for Mullen Automotive to do the same. So I think with regard to illegal short selling, hopefully we get some continuous momentum, continuous positive momentum, so companies like these can now grow. I'd finally like to give a quick shout out to our weekly watch list. So here we're going to review some of the stocks that we called out last week. So we also called out here ticker symbol GROM, that was up 12.4% on the week. There was also an opportunity to get 30% return on Thursday. The best call that we had was ticker symbol GNS. When we called this, it was trading around about 59 cents. Remember, the market was closed Tuesday, so we're looking at gains from Monday the market was closed, so gains from Tuesday. We know that this went up in excess of $5, so there's opportunity to get a return close to 760%. But if you held till Friday, then the gain was around about 450%. I know a number of people in the Discord made significant profits, many thousands of dollars, so congratulations to all of them. We also called out TRKA. That was also a great call. That was up 22% on the week, with also chances to get 35% gains. We called out ticker symbol APPN, and one of the things that I focused on for APPN was very significant insider buys. These were also shared exclusively in the Discord, up in excess of 7.4% on the week. We also called out MARA, predicting a continuation of Bitcoin momentum, and I think that was up about 10% on the Friday, and I do see momentum continuing, especially as we have now seen Bitcoin hit in excess of $23,000. APRN was also called. That was up 7% on Friday. Overall, it was down 15% on the week. We also called out BBIG, and that was up 24% Monday. Down after that with a significant sell-off. So not all calls are successful, but certainly opportunities there to take profit. And finally, thank you very much for watching. Please stay tuned.